Hey fam, if you knew the whole story, boom, you'd never even look at them the same way again. Yeah, I said it. The mask they wear is faker than plastic, and oh wow, the lies stitched underneath could rip your mind apart. You ever felt that chill? Nah, not the cold, but the truth creeping in when someone's smile doesn't match their shadow. That's not a mistake. That's a warning, loud and clear. You see, they play innocent, clap their hands like nothing's broken, but deep down, every step is a setup. Every laugh is a loaded trap. Oh yeah, you think you're safe. Think again, because once you pull back the curtain, once you flip the page on their story, the friend you thought you knew, gone. The loyalty you trusted, shattered. And suddenly the silence around them isn't awkward, it's terrifying. So let me ask you, do you really want to hear what's hiding in the dark? Or are you too scared to admit the truth has claws? People wear masks, not to hide their faces, but to bury their crimes. That's the part nobody tells you. The face you see, the smile you trust, the voice that feels so safe. It's all a carefully polished performance. And you're just the audience, clapping for the show, never realizing the script was written to trap you. If you knew the whole story, you'd never speak to them again. Because stories have layers. They have beginnings that were never told, motives that were never confessed, and scars they carved into others before you ever arrived. You only see the version of them they allow you to see, the safe version, the clean version, the I've never done wrong in my life version. But deep down, there's a history. A trail of broken trust, crushed loyalty, and silent victims who still bleed in the shadows. Oh, you think you know them? Nah. You know the costume, not the character. You know the mask, not the monster. And monsters don't announce themselves. They don't roar when they walk in. They whisper, they charm, they blend. And by the time you realize who or what they really are, it's too late. You've already handed them the keys to your trust. Think about it. Every betrayal, every heartbreak, every knife that found your back, didn't it come from someone you let too close? A stranger can't betray you. A stranger can't wound you like that. Only someone who sat at your table, who smiled while plotting, who nodded while lying. Only they can shatter you in ways that leave echoes years later. And here's the brutal part. They knew. They always knew. From the start. They knew they were never loyal, never honest, never worthy of your time. But they wanted something. Attention. Power, advantage, a piece of you. And once they had it, they threw you aside like you were disposable. Oh wow, doesn't it sting to realize you were never dealing with a person, but with a performance? And still, you defend them. You say, no, not them. They wouldn't do that. They're different. Yeah? That's what every victim once said about the one who left them bleeding. That's the trap. You keep believing the mask because the mask is all you've ever seen. But masks are made to deceive, and the longer you stare, the more convincing it becomes. But let me tell you something vicious. If you had the courage, the real courage to rip the mask off, you'd see the truth. You'd see the lies that carried their voice. You'd see the intentions that dripped like poison behind their words. You'd see the trail of people before you who once believed in them until belief turned to bitterness. Nah, they're not who you think. They never were. Because if you knew the whole story, you'd look at them differently. You'd see not a friend, but a fraud. Not an ally, but an actor. Not a trusted one, but a thief of time, energy, and trust. And here's the cruelest twist of all. They're still performing, still smiling, still pretending, and you're still clapping, still applauding the act that's designed to destroy you. But the mask can't stay on forever. The real question is, are you ready for the moment it falls? Truth doesn't knock politely. It kicks the door in and dares you to look it in the eye. So when the mask falls, and it will fall, what do you think you'll see? A harmless slip-up? An innocent mistake? No. You'll see the rot that's been waiting under the surface. You'll see the years of lies stitched together into one convincing smile. And the shock will hit you so hard, you'll wonder how you ever missed it. Because the mask is paper thin. One crack, one wrong word, one slip in their act, and suddenly everything makes sense. All those little signs you ignored, the moments your gut whispered that something wasn't right, the stories that never added up, the contradictions in their behavior, the way they looked away when truth got too close. It all crashes down in an instant, and then it hits you. Oh wow, they were never real with you. Not once, not ever. That's when the silence creeps in. That hollow silence where trust used to live. You sit there, replaying every conversation, every shared moment, every laugh, and you realize it was poisoned from the start. The performance wasn't just for the world, it was for you. You were the chosen audience, and the joke was always on you. Yeah, it stings. It burns like fire in the chest. But here's the twisted truth. That pain is the medicine. Because once you've seen the act collapse, you'll never see them the same way again. And that's freedom. The chains fall off the moment the mask does. But let me tell you why most people never reach that moment. Because they don't want the mask to fall. They cling to the illusion. They beg for the performance to continue. Why? Because reality is brutal. It demands action. And action means walking away, cutting ties, burning bridges you once thought were indestructible. Nah. Most people would rather live in a pretty lie than face an ugly truth. But not you. Not anymore. Because now you're beginning to understand what's at stake. You've been fed illusions. You've been conditioned to swallow lies with a smile. You've been told to excuse behavior that would destroy another soul if the roles were reversed. And you've been tricked into thinking loyalty means tolerating betrayal. But listen closely. That's not loyalty. That's slavery. And it ends the moment you open your eyes. The ones who wear masks thrive on your blindness. They count on your silence. They laugh when you excuse their crimes. But the moment you stop applauding, the moment you stop forgiving what should never be forgiven, that's the moment their act dies. Oh, doesn't it feel heavy? Doesn't it feel like betrayal all over again? Just to hear these words. Good. That weight is your awakening. That heaviness is the cost of truth, and truth is the only thing that can cut through the performance. So what happens after the mask falls? Do you rebuild? Do you run? Do you rise? That depends on one thing. Do you have the strength to walk away when everything inside you screams to stay? Strength isn't shown in the fight you start. It's shown in the ties you cut. Most people believe walking away is weakness. They say it means surrender. They whisper that it's cowardice. But the truth? Walking away takes more courage than clinging to the illusion. Because clinging is easy. Anyone can stay chained to poison. Anyone can keep swallowing lies just to avoid the sting of loneliness. But it takes a rare kind of fire to say, enough. That's the moment everything shifts. The moment you stop asking why they did it and start asking why you tolerated it. The moment you stop rehearsing their excuses and start writing your own escape. The moment you stop trying to fix the unfixable and choose to rise instead. Oh, don't confuse this with pride. This is survival. This is clarity. This is you deciding that your time, your energy, your very soul is too valuable to waste on someone who already showed you their story, is soaked in betrayal. Because if you knew the whole story, if you really knew it, you wouldn't hesitate. You wouldn't need advice. You wouldn't need a second opinion. You'd stand up and walk out without looking back. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. Yeah, it hurts. Of course it does. Cutting ties always bleeds, but better a wound that heals than a chain that strangles forever. Pain is temporary, poison is permanent, and that's the trap they set. They make you believe that leaving is worse than staying. They convince you that silence is safer than truth. They whisper, just give me one more chance, as if chances aren't the currency they've already bankrupted. Nah, enough is enough. They showed you who they are, they performed their act, and you finally saw through it. But here's where most people collapse. They think leaving is the end. They think cutting ties is the finish line. But walking away is not the end. It's the beginning. The beginning of rebuilding. The beginning of freedom. The beginning of becoming someone who refuses to be fooled again. And oh wow, doesn't that ignite something inside you? The thought that walking away isn't losing, it's leveling up. That the very act of refusing their lies is the proof that you've risen above the game. Because once you've walked away, you carry something they'll never touch. Clarity. And clarity is power. It sharpens you. It hardens you. It turns you from prey into predator, from target into storm. You see through masks before they even form. You catch the lies before they leave the tongue. You know the pattern before it begins. That's why walking away is not weakness. It's the ultimate strength. But here's the cruel paradox. Strength brings solitude. The stronger you become, the fewer people can stand beside you. And solitude? That's where most people break. The question is, will solitude break you or will it forge you? Solitude is not silence. It's the sound of steel striking steel inside your own chest. When the crowd is gone, when the mask wearers are unmasked and discarded, when the lies no longer echo around you, what's left? Nothing but you, the quiet, the weight of your own thoughts, the reflection staring back unfiltered, unedited, undeniable. And here's the brutal truth. Solitude doesn't break you, it reveals you. It shows you what's been hiding under the noise, under the distractions, under the endless chatter of false company. Alone, you can't lie to yourself. Alone, you face the raw version of who you are and who you must become. Oh, most people run from it. They drown themselves in endless noise, endless screens, endless voices. They'd rather be surrounded by poison than sit 1 hour with their own silence. Because silence doesn't flatter. Silence doesn't comfort. Silence cuts. And when it cuts, it shows the rot that must be burned away. But that's where the forge is. That's where the transformation begins. Because solitude strips you down, it takes the weak parts of you, the fragile illusions, the excuses you've been carrying, and it burns them until only iron remains. Wow. Can you feel it? That heat that rises when you're finally honest with yourself. That fire that comes not from others but from within. That's the forge. That's where strength is hammered into your bones. And yeah, it hurts. Growth always hurts. That's why so few endure it. Most would rather crawl back to the mask wearers, to the liars, to the comfortable chains. They beg for company, even if it means kneeling to betrayal again. Because solitude demands discipline, and discipline terrifies the weak. Nah. Let them run. Let them chase their illusions. You will stand in the fire. You will let the solitude hammer you into something untouchable. You will allow the silence to strip you, break you, and rebuild you sharper than before. Because once you endure solitude, once you embrace it, you realize something shocking. You don't need them. Not the masks, not the liars, not the applause, not the empty praise. You carry your own weight. You generate your own fire. You become whole without the illusion of their presence. And oh wow, isn't that terrifying? To them, yes. To the mask wearers, it's the most dangerous thing they can witness. Because once you've been forged in solitude, they can't control you anymore. They can't trick you with their smiles. They can't cage you with their lies. They've lost their grip forever. That's why solitude is not a punishment. It's a weapon, a hidden arsenal that only the strong ever unlock. Once you've tasted it, once you've survived its fire, you're no longer desperate for company. You choose wisely. You see clearly. And you walk with a presence that shakes the room before you even speak. So let them whisper, let them laugh, let them call you alone, because solitude has made you dangerous. Solitude has made you sharp. Solitude has given you the power to see through the performance before the curtain even rises. And once you've been forged in that silence, you will never again be fooled by the mask. But here's the final test. When solitude has forged you into iron, will you use that strength to destroy or to rise above? Power in the wrong hands builds prisons. Power in the right hands breaks chains. Once solitude has done its work, once the fire has forged you, you stand at a crossroad. Your strength is undeniable. Your clarity is sharp. You see through masks before they even tighten the straps. You're no longer fooled, no longer desperate, no longer chained. But what now? Do you take that strength and turn it into a weapon of destruction, lashing out at everyone who ever wronged you? Or do you rise above, leaving them to drown in their own lies while you walk untouched? Oh, it's tempting, isn't it? To unleash everything you've bottled up, to shout, to expose, to crush, to finally show them the pain they caused, multiplied 1,000 times. That urge is real. That fire is alive. But destruction is easy. Anybody can break. Anybody can burn. That's not power. That's weakness disguised as rage. Real strength is measured in restraint. in the ability to hold the fire without letting it consume you, to let the storm rage inside and still choose the higher ground. Because the moment you waste your power on vengeance, you become chained again, chained to them, chained to their story, chained to their poison. And wasn't the whole point to break free? Wow, think about it. If you knew the whole story, if you really saw every scar they left, every victim they betrayed, every mask they wore, would you lower yourself to their level? Or would you stand tall, untouchable, knowing their lies can't reach you anymore? Yeah, it's not easy. Choosing to rise takes more courage than destroying, because rising means walking away quietly with no need for applause, no hunger for recognition. It means letting them wonder why they can't affect you anymore. It means letting your silence scream louder than any revenge could. Nah, silence isn't weakness. Silence is strategy. It's the sound of a weapon sharpened but never wasted. It's the sound of someone who has nothing left to prove. And that silence, it terrifies them. It shakes them harder than your rage ever could, because rage is predictable. But silence is power. And oh wow, here's the twist. By choosing to rise above, you're not just protecting yourself, you're exposing them without a word. Their lies collapse when there's no audience left to clap. Their performance dies when no one buys a ticket. Their mask falls, not because you ripped it off, but because you simply refuse to look at it anymore. That's how you win. Not by breaking them, by refusing to be broken again. Not by proving them wrong, by showing they never had the power to define you in the first place. So the question isn't whether you'll destroy or rise. The question is whether you can master yourself enough to let the fire stay contained. Whether you can walk away not just in body, but in mind, in heart, in spirit. That is the true test of power. Because once you master that choice, once you choose to rise, you enter a different world. A world where masks can't touch you, lies can't chain you, and betrayal can't reach you. But here's the ultimate secret. Rising above isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of a new one. And now you know. The whole story ain't pretty, is it? It burns, it cuts, it makes your stomach twist. But hey, that's the price of truth. It doesn't come wrapped in ribbons, it comes dripping with poison. And once you taste it, you can never spit it out again. So tell me, after everything you've seen, after everything you've felt, are you still gonna sit at their table? Still gonna laugh at their jokes? Still gonna call them friend? Or are you finally ready to stand up, walk away, and let the mask fall to the ground? Because once the story is revealed, once the lies are unchained, there's no going back. No second chance, no oops, my bad. Nah, the book is closed and the villain is exposed. So remember this. The next time you look into their eyes, ask yourself, are you staring at a person or are you staring at a story you should have never trusted? Yeah, just like that. Your name is everywhere. It's flying through group chats, bouncing around in jealous whispers, tattooed on the minds of people who don't even like you. Yet they can't stop watching you. Isn't it hilarious? You're living rent-free in the heads of people who swore they were above you. Oh, the irony. You didn't post anything wild, you didn't start any drama, You didn't beg to be seen. You just existed. And suddenly, boom, your name starts trending. People are arguing about you, stalking your every move, obsessed with your silence, your glow, your growth. And all you did was be you. Tell me that's not power. It's almost funny how loud people get when you don't say a word. They're watching you like it's their job, clicking, scrolling, analyzing. But what they'll never admit is that they wish they had your fire, that raw energy, that fearless soul that didn't ask for approval but still took over the room. So welcome to the chaos you never asked for but fully deserve. Because when you're real in a world full of copies, you become a threat. Not by shouting, not by begging, but by breathing. And if your name is causing earthquakes without you lifting a finger, you're exactly where you're meant to be. There's something incredible happening behind the curtain that you might not even see. Wow. Your name? Yes, your name is echoing in places you've never walked into. It's being whispered in circles you never signed up for. And it's being typed, searched, watched, and rewatched. Not because you begged for attention, but because your existence alone shifted the air around you. You might not fully understand the weight of your presence yet, but it's time you did. You see, people don't obsess over ordinary, not ever. They don't track, talk about, or get angry at the invisible. They obsess over the fire, that spark. They react to the force, the disruption, the jolt that reminds them they've been standing still. They respond to anything that challenges the dull routine of their lives. And you, my friend, are exactly that. A spark in their dark room, a beautiful disruption. A disruption to their comfort zone, a reminder that they're standing still while someone like you dares to move. You became a mirror they didn't ask for. Laugh softly, showing them what it looks like to rise without permission, to shine without apology, to walk through storms and still smile like the chaos didn't touch you. That's why they can't stop looking, can't stop talking, because your story, your silent battles and loud victories speak to a part of them they've buried. And instead of facing it, they focus on you. They magnify you. They study you. They try to reduce your greatness into something familiar. They pick apart your words, your clothes, your habits, like detectives on a mission, hoping to find a weakness, because deep down, your strength makes them uncomfortable, and that's power. But this isn't something to fear. This is something to own. This attention, this noise, this secret audience you never invited, it's not a curse. It's a sign that you're no longer in the background of your own life. You've stepped into your spotlight, and whether you wanted it or not, they're all watching. And in that watching, there's energy flowing toward you. Some call it gossip, some call it hate, some call it jealousy. But in the end, it's all just recognition. Whether they like it or not, they've accepted that you matter. They've marked you as different. They've crowned you with the kind of relevance people dream about. Not the shallow fame, but the deep kind. The kind that stirs emotions, that causes reactions, that forces people to talk about you when you're not even there. That's power. And the best part? You didn't buy it, beg for it, or steal it. You earned it with your resilience, with your truth, with your refusal to shrink. And I know, sometimes it feels like a curse, like being noticed too much is draining, like being misunderstood is exhausting, like you wish they'd just let you be. But listen, diamonds don't get created in comfort. They're born under pressure. You're not just trending because you exist. You're trending because you've tapped into something most people never reach: authenticity. And when you're real in a world that rewards the fake, when you keep going while others freeze, when you glow up from the very pain they assumed would break you, they notice. That glow, it's not just skin deep, It's soul deep. That energy, it's not something you can fake, it's raw, it's earned. That's why it spreads, that's why it sticks. You're the plot twist they didn't expect. You're the chapter they thought ended, but somehow kept writing itself louder and bolder. And maybe they don't know your story, but they feel your presence. They sense your energy before you even speak. That's rare. That's sacred. That's something you should protect. Let them argue. Let them doubt. Let them spin stories in their heads while you write your truth with actions. Because real ones don't chase attention. They attract it. And that's exactly what you're doing, pulling gravity toward you, just by existing as you are. So don't shrink. Don't fade, just because the spotlight feels too bright. Don't lower your volume just because others weren't prepared for your voice. You were meant to be seen. You were meant to be talked about. And even when they don't say it to your face, you're inspiring people. You're shifting minds. You're waking souls. You might not always get applause, but you will get remembered. And in the end, that's bigger than fame. That's legacy. So the next time you hear someone mention your name in a way that stings, smile, because that's proof you're alive in their world. Shaking up their thoughts, living rent-free in their heads without lifting a finger. That's dominance without effort. That's being unforgettable without screaming. And if your name is trending, it's because your journey is speaking louder than words. And that kind of impact? That's what legends are made of. It's a strange feeling. Just being yourself becomes a problem for people who've never walked a day in your shoes. You don't make loud announcements. You're not running around demanding attention. You're just existing, breathing, moving, living your truth. And somehow, that's enough to shake entire circles, to spark debates, to make people stalk your social media, dig through your past, try to find cracks in your armor. It's wild, but it's real. People will go to war in their heads, just trying to figure out how someone like you walks through storms like it's a casual breeze. They obsess. Not because you've wronged them, but because your strength, your presence, your peace is louder than their noise. And that eats at them. It stirs something in their soul they thought they buried. A longing to be bold, to be different, to be seen. But you got there first. You dared to live. You dared to rise. And they can't handle that. They stalk your life, not out of admiration, but because your authenticity is a mirror to their fear. They watch in silence, hoping to find flaws, because flaws make them feel better. Because in their world, people like you aren't supposed to be confident. You're not supposed to succeed. You're not supposed to be that quiet storm no one can stop. And when they see you being exactly that, it short-circuits everything they believe. So they argue, not with you, but with themselves. They create entire stories, twisting facts, inventing motives, just to make sense of why you glow while they stay stuck. But none of that is your problem. That's their internal war, their chaos. You've done nothing but exist. And yet here they are, clicking, talking, stalking, copying, competing with a version of you that isn't even aware of their presence. But let's be honest, it gets heavy sometimes. You feel it, don't you? That weight, that invisible pressure of being watched, the urge to retreat, to hide parts of yourself just to breathe in peace. But here's what you must remember. Your energy isn't a burden, it's a force. It's not something to hide, it's something to own. If your existence alone causes waves, imagine what happens when you truly step into your full power. Imagine what happens when you stop dimming your light just to make others feel safe in the dark. They already talk. They already stalk. So give them something real to witness. Let your success be louder than their gossip. Let your peace be more powerful than their noise. And don't waste your breath trying to explain yourself to people who've already decided who you are. Their version of you is built on fear and fiction. But your truth, It's untouchable. You don't need to fight to be understood. You just need to keep building, keep walking, keep evolving. Because every time you grow, you expose what they're not willing to become. That's why they obsess. That's why they mimic. That's why they twist your story into something they can digest. But they can't copy your soul. They can't fake your resilience. They can't replicate your journey. So they circle you like moths to a flame, hoping to steal a spark without being burned. But you're not their lesson to copy. You're their reminder to wake up. People arguing about you behind closed doors? That's proof you've entered their minds. People watching your every move? That's evidence you've left an impression. They're investing energy in you and you haven't even asked for it. That's power. That's presence. And when you hold that kind of power, you don't need revenge. You don't need validation. You don't need the world to clap. You just need to keep going. Quietly, fiercely, relentlessly. You don't need to respond to every opinion. You don't need to fix every misunderstanding. Let them create their versions of you. Let them argue over your value like it's a debate. You know who you are, you know what you've survived, and you know how far you've come. That's enough. That's always been enough. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be undeniable, to walk in your truth so powerfully. Even the ones who hate you can't deny your glow. So let them watch. Let them talk. Let them obsess. That's their hobby, not your burden. You don't need to carry their confusion. You don't need to tone down your light for people stuck in the shadows. You are not here to play small so others can stay comfortable. You are here to grow, to evolve, to shock, to disrupt, and to leave a trail of inspiration that screams, I existed and I mattered. And if that stirs up jealousy, envy, gossip, or fear, so be it. That's not your storm to calm. Your name is trending not because you screamed the loudest, but because your silence, your growth, your rise is making the most noise. Let them chase shadows. Let them drown in questions. You keep being the answer they'll never understand. There's a kind of fire that doesn't need to burn loud. It doesn't crackle or roar. It just exists, quiet, steady, and untouchable. That's the fire living inside you. And make no mistake, it's terrifying to people who've built their identity around control, conformity, and comparison. Because while they were waiting for permission, you just showed up. While they were hiding behind masks, you were busy being raw. You didn't come to impress. You came to be real. And in a world drowning in fakeness, someone who's real is like a lightning strike. They don't know what to do with it, so they obsess over it. Try to analyze it, talk circles around it, argue in their heads over how someone like you can exist so boldly, so freely, so unshaken. You didn't try to be different. You just are. And that's what unsettles them. You're the one who walks through the hallway and shifts the air. You're the one who enters the room and suddenly people forget what they were saying. It's not about your clothes or your face or the volume of your voice. It's your energy. That silent, undeniable force that wraps around people and shakes something in them awake. And it's funny because you've felt alone so many times. You've questioned your worth. You've doubted your path. You've laid awake wondering why you feel like a stranger, even among people who claim to know you. But what you didn't realize is that it was never loneliness. It was greatness, growing inside you. And greatness always makes people uncomfortable because it refuses to shrink. It refuses to beg. It just rises, slowly, relentlessly, beautifully. They don't hate you. They fear what you represent. You are living proof that it's possible to break free, to grow without permission, to heal without applause. You're proof that someone can come from chaos and still radiate peace. And when people see that, when they see you existing without needing their validation, it triggers something deep in them. They start questioning their own choices, their own cages, their own silence. And that discomfort, that reflection, that's what makes them talk. Not because you asked for attention, but because your presence demands it. You're a walking contradiction to everything they've been told. You didn't wait to be chosen. You chose yourself, and that terrifies them more than any loud threat ever could. This isn't about arrogance. It's about self-acceptance. It's about finally realizing that your existence is the message, that your life, your scars, your growth, your rise, is the loudest rebellion of all. You're not trending because you begged to be noticed. You're trending because your story is powerful, because the fact that you're still here, still trying, still walking, still existing, is magic. Raw, rare, untamed magic. And people can't look away from magic, even when they don't understand it, especially when they don't understand it. So don't you dare apologize for the space you take up. Don't shrink to make others feel taller. Don't silence your laughter, your pain, your weirdness, or your fire just because someone else gets uncomfortable. That discomfort, that reaction, that obsession, it's not your burden, it's your evidence. Evidence that you're alive in a way most people never dare to be. Evidence that you're doing something right, that your soul is louder than your voice, that your steps are leaving echoes, even in rooms you've never entered. And yes, sometimes it hurts. Being misunderstood, being watched, being talked about. But you didn't come here to be liked by everyone. You came here to live so fully that even silence couldn't contain you. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're existing louder than their opinions. You're growing past their limits. You're becoming what they said was impossible. And every time they say your name, whether in hate or admiration, they're giving you power. They're pouring energy into your story. They're making you bigger without even realizing it. So hold your head high. Let them obsess. Let them whisper. Let them scroll through your life trying to decode your glow. Because while they spend their energy watching, you're spending yours evolving. And there's no argument, no rumor, no obsession that can stop a soul that's already chosen to rise. You're not here to explain your light to those who've chosen the dark. You're here to burn even if it blinds them, because your existence is proof that survival can be stunning, that pain can be powerful. That rising doesn't need noise, it just needs truth. And that truth, it's living in you. Right now, in your silence, in your resilience, in your decision to wake up today and keep walking. So walk loud, walk proud, walk like your name is trending, because it is. In rooms you've never seen, in minds you've never met, in hearts you never expected to touch. You're not just surviving, you're becoming unforgettable. There's something about you that flips switches in people. You walk into a space, quiet, humble, focused, and suddenly the air thickens, eyes shift, whispers start. You didn't say a word, you didn't brag, you didn't throw your success in anyone's face, and yet they feel it. That invisible power radiating from your energy, that silent storm behind your calm eyes. That's the kind of presence you carry. Not because you trained to be intimidating, but because your authenticity is a mirror. And when people who are busy pretending to be strong, pretending to be confident, pretending to be whole, come face to face with someone like you, someone who's actually done the work, they feel exposed. Their act slips. Their insecurities rise, their jealousy bubbles, and it has nothing to do with you being wrong, and everything to do with you being real. You see, there's a difference between people who live loudly for show and those who've suffered in silence and still came out shining. You're the second kind. You didn't get here through shortcuts or staged perfection. You've been through hell, and you walked through it without a spotlight. You healed in the dark. You grinded in silence. You took your pain and instead of screaming about it, you built something from it. That's why they can't handle your presence. Because they've spent so long trying to wear confidence like a costume while you built it from your scars. They act strong. You became strong. And that truth, that realness, it exposes the layers they try so hard to hide. They're not really mad at you. They're mad at what you represent. You are living proof that it's possible to glow without begging, to rise without playing dirty, to thrive without stepping on anyone. You remind them of everything they could be if they stopped pretending and started doing the inner work. But that journey, it terrifies them. So instead they project. They act like you're too much, like you're different, like you're doing something weird. But it's not weird, it's rare. You're not loud. They're just used to silence. You're not intense. They're just uncomfortable with truth. You're not arrogant. You just stopped apologizing for existing. And it's painful, isn't it? Carrying a presence that turns admiration into envy, that turns curiosity into obsession. You just want peace. You just want to move in your lane. But your light keeps dragging shadows out of people. And you didn't ask for that. But you were built for it. You were shaped for a path that would require you to be seen even when you wanted to be invisible. You were given a presence so loud that even your stillness makes noise. You're the kind of person who enters a room and makes people question their masks. And they don't like that. Because pretending is easy until the real thing walks in. You carry something spiritual. Something magnetic. Something they can't name but can't look away from. You are both a challenge and an invitation to rise, to evolve, to be better. But not everyone is ready for that. So some will hate. Some will gossip. Some will make up stories just to feel like they understand what they can't control. And you have to keep walking. Not because you owe them a response, but because you owe yourself the right to rise without restraint. You owe your younger self the glow-up you promised. You owe your future self the freedom you fought for. You owe your soul the space to stretch without fear. Let them be triggered. Let them fumble in confusion. That's part of the journey. You weren't meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to wake people up. Some will love you for it. Some will hate you for it. But either way, you'll never be forgotten. Because when someone lives so boldly, so honestly, so powerfully, their presence becomes legacy. Not because of what they said, but because of what they made others feel. And you make people feel. You make them rethink, reevaluate, reflect. That's your power, and you don't need to shout about it. You don't need to argue. You just need to exist. Loudly, unapologetically, freely. You are not a trend. You are not a phase. You are not an accident. You are a walking disruption to everything fake, small, and shallow. You were not made to blend in with the noise. You were made to be the sound that silences everything else. And if that triggers people, let it. You're not here to make everyone comfortable. You're here to be unforgettable. So here you are, still standing, still rising, still the name on their lips. They can't stop watching you, not because you begged for attention, but because you became undeniable. You didn't scream, you didn't chase, you just existed louder than they expected, and that's the power you carry, that's the weapon you were born with. Presence. Yo, listen up. Now everybody knows you've been that one. They thought they could keep it quiet, huh? Nah. Secret's out. And oh, doesn't it burn them inside? Does it make them shake? They played their games, laughed in your face, oh wow. But they screwed up bad. They tried to bury the truth. But the truth don't stay buried, right? Every whisper, every scheme, every little fake smile, exposed, and now the whole world sees you, raw, undeniable, untouchable. So the question is, what you gonna do with that spotlight, huh? The mask slipped, and the world gasped. That's how it always happens, doesn't it? Quiet, subtle, a crack in the curtain, a sliver of truth breaking through the stage lights. They never expected it to happen, never thought the facade could shatter so violently. But here we are. Oops. Now everybody knows you've been that one all along. The one they whispered about, the one they underestimated, the one they laughed off, until the truth punched its way into the open. And oh, how fast their smiles disappeared. You can almost hear it in the silence, that dreadful silence that follows exposure. When they realize they can't unsee it, can't unhear it, can't unknow what has been revealed. Their game collapsed, their lies torched, their comfort zone shattered into shards sharp enough to cut their own hands. Wow, the irony is delicious. They spent so long convincing themselves that you were ordinary, weak, replaceable, a background shadow in their theater of arrogance. But here's the twist. You were the very storm they could never contain. And now the secret's out. Oh, you can see it in their eyes. That flicker of panic, that split-second twitch when truth slices through illusion. They thought they held the strings. They thought they wrote the script. Nah. Turns out they were nothing more than actors playing a role in your story. And doesn't that sting? Doesn't that cut them deeper than any blade could? To realize that the person they dismissed, the one they mocked, the one they tried to bury, was the very foundation under their feet. And now the foundation is no longer theirs to stand on. It belongs to you. Yeah, it's funny. Not the kind of funny that makes you laugh. No, it's the kind of funny that makes the room colder. The kind of funny that makes silence heavy. The kind of funny that makes people squirm because they know the truth has no mercy. And the truth is a fire that doesn't care who it burns. So here we are, the reveal, the moment of collapse. Their carefully built illusions scattered like ash in the wind. They screwed up so bad. They should have kept their distance. They should have played smarter. But arrogance has a way of blinding people, doesn't it? It makes them think they can toy with you, that they can dictate your limits, that they can bury you beneath their noise. But noise can't bury fire. Noise can't drown thunder. And noise can't silence the truth. Listen closely. This is the part they never prepared for. Exposure doesn't just reveal you, it reveals them. Every false smile, every backhanded scheme, every rotten word they whispered when they thought no one was listening. Now the light shines, and their shadows crawl out, ugly and undeniable. Oh, how they wish they could take it back. Erase the moment. Rewrite the scene. But that's the beauty of revelation. Once the curtain drops, it can never rise again the same way. What's been seen cannot be unseen. What's been unleashed cannot be caged again. And that's where the shift begins. The balance of power. The tilt of scales. The exposed truth doesn't just change how they see you, it changes how you see yourself. For so long you carried the weight of their disbelief. You bore their mocking eyes, their sneers, their smirks. But now their disbelief is shattered, and in its ruins you stand taller, sharper, untouchable. Oh, they hate it. They hate that you were right. They hate that you endured. They hate that their effort to bury you only turned you into something they can't contain. And hate when mixed with fear, creates a storm they cannot weather. So let them stew in it. Let them choke on the bitterness of their mistake. Because here's the truth. The reveal was never your weakness. It was your weapon. And they handed it to you themselves, too blind to realize what they were giving away. Now ask yourself, if this was just the reveal, just the first fracture in their crumbling illusion, what happens when the full storm arrives? Revelation is never the end. It's only the beginning of collapse. They thought exposure was the peak. They thought the worst was already behind them. But no, that was just the crack in the dam. What comes next is the flood, the unstoppable surge that doesn't ask for permission, doesn't wait for acceptance. And you are that flood. Because if the secret being out rattled them this badly, what happens when you decide to show the rest? What happens when you stop holding back? When you peel away the layers of restraint they always mistook for weakness? That's when the storm begins. You see, exposure is dangerous. Not because it shows the world who you are, but because it forces you to stop hiding. For so long you carried silence like armor. You let their ignorance shield you from attention. You moved in shadows because it suited you. But now the shadows have been burned away, and the only thing left is to step into the fire they thought they could survive. And oh, how unprepared they are. They can't fight what they don't understand. They can't contain what they can't predict. Wow. You can almost feel their desperation, scrambling for excuses, for explanations, for ways to rewrite the narrative that is no longer theirs to control. But narratives belong to the ones who command presence. And right now, that's you. Yeah, the shift has already begun. You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to announce victory. Their fear speaks louder than any declaration could. Every glance they throw, every whisper they can't contain, every restless night they suffer, all of it proves one thing. They know they lost. Nah, they can't admit it. Pride won't allow that. They'll pretend, they'll posture, they'll cling to the fragments of their illusion as though fragments could shield them from the storm. But deep down, they know. And knowing eats them alive. Because here's the brutal truth. Once you've been exposed as that one, you can never return to being invisible. The days of blending in are over. They stole that from you the moment they tried to ruin you. They ripped the mask off, but in doing so, they carved your presence into the memory of everyone watching. And now you're unforgettable. That's what terrifies them most. Not just that you endured, not just that you rose, but that every single step from here on out will be magnified. Every word, every action, every move. The world is watching, and the ones who tried to bury you are forced to watch as well. Their punishment isn't just their failure, it's their inability to look away. Oh, let them watch. Let them choke on the very spectacle they created. They wanted to expose you, to humiliate you, to strip you of dignity. Instead, they gave you the stage, and now they can't escape the performance. Every time you rise higher, it's a blade twisting deeper into their pride. You don't need revenge. You don't need to strike back. The truth itself is the strike. Exposure itself is the blow. And every day you continue walking with power, with clarity, with unshakable resolve. It's another wound they cannot heal, So, let the storm grow. Don't shrink from it. Don't try to tame it. The storm is your nature revealed, and storms do not apologize for destruction. Storms cleanse. Storms transform. Storms take what was built on weakness and sweep it away, leaving only the strong to remain. They screwed up so bad, not just by revealing you, but by underestimating what happens when you're revealed. They thought the secret was their weapon, but secrets lose power the second they're dragged into the light. And once it's out, it doesn't belong to them anymore. It belongs to you. That's the turning point. They never calculated. You aren't the one caught in the reveal. They are. Because now, the world isn't just seeing who you are. The world is seeing who they are in contrast. Weak, bitter, fractured. You rise, they sink. You build, they break. You move forward, they choke on their own hesitation. Oh, the stage is set now. The curtain is gone, the audience restless, the spotlight locked. And what comes next? That's the part that keeps them awake. That's the part they can't prepare for. Because the reveal was only the first fire. The storm that follows, that's the reckoning. Reckoning doesn't knock, it breaks the door. They thought truth was gentle. They thought exposure would sting, then fade. But reckoning is not a whisper, it's a roar. It doesn't arrive asking for calm discussion. It arrives like thunder, splitting silence, forcing everyone to listen whether they want to or not. And now, they're forced to listen. The secret is out, and that alone shook their foundation. But what follows? That's the part they never accounted for. Because the moment truth steps into the open, it doesn't just stop there. It spreads. It multiplies. It infects every corner of their fragile world. Oh, the irony. They spent years building walls of illusion, convincing themselves that lies could hold power forever. But truth doesn't rot. Truth doesn't weaken. Truth waits. And when it moves like a hammer. Direct, merciless, final. Wow. Can you feel it? That tension in the air, the way their voices tremble, the way their bravado cracks. They stand there pretending to be steady, but inside, they are shattering piece by piece. Because reckoning isn't something you can bluff your way through. It tears through facades like paper. Yeah, this is where strength separates from noise. And you're not noise anymore. You're the echo that won't fade, the reminder they can't erase. Every step you take now is a reminder of their failure. Every breath you draw is proof they couldn't stop you. Nah, they don't want to admit it. They still cling to pride like it's a shield. But pride can't hold back the storm. Pride can't rewrite what everyone already knows. Their game is over, and yet they still try to pretend. But pretending only makes the reckoning worse when it finally crashes down. Understand this. The reckoning isn't just about punishing them. It's about transforming you. For years you carried their shadows, their attempts to box you in, their schemes to keep you small. But exposure erased all of that. Now the reckoning demands that you rise into the space they tried to deny you. It demands that you own the identity they feared you would claim. And oh, how it terrifies them to see you own it. Because once you embrace it fully, there's no turning back. You're no longer a question. You're the answer. You're no longer speculation. You're reality. And reality doesn't ask for acceptance. It commands it. Think about it. They tried to bury you, but in doing so they planted you deeper, and now you've grown beyond their reach. They tried to silence you, but in doing so they amplified your voice, because silence only makes people lean in closer. They tried to erase you, but in doing so they burned your name into their own history. That's the reckoning. Not a scream, not chaos, but the steady, unstoppable presence of truth. They can't escape. The more they resist it, the louder it gets. The more they fight it, the heavier it lands. And every second they deny it, they only make it clearer that they've already lost. So let them wrestle with it. Let them choke on their own schemes. You don't need to lift a hand. The reckoning is already working through them, already dismantling what they thought was indestructible. All you have to do is keep standing. All you have to do is keep moving forward. Because reckoning doesn't stop once it begins. It doesn't slow down. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't compromise. Once unleashed, it finishes the job. And the job is erasing every illusion they ever tried to build around you. Oh, and here's the part they'll never admit. The reckoning is not just punishment. It's prophecy fulfilled. It's the moment where what they denied is proven unstoppable. Reckoning breaks them. But power rebuilds you. The storm that tore through their illusions was never meant to leave you shattered. No, it was meant to strip away the dust, the limits, the doubts, until only the unbreakable remained. Reckoning was the purge. Power is what rises from the ashes they thought would bury you. Now here you stand, stronger, sharper. No longer a secret, no longer a shadow. Exposure gave you a stage, reckoning gave you clarity, but power gives you direction, and direction is what makes the world lean forward, trembling, waiting for your next move. Oh, how it terrifies them. Because power is not noise. Power doesn't shout to be seen. Power is quiet presence, steady control, the weight in the room that makes every head turn without a word. And now that you've stepped into it, they can feel it. They can't escape it. They can't breathe without noticing it. Wow. Think about that shift. Once they thought you were beneath them. Once they thought your silence was weakness. Now that silence is strength and it crushes them. You don't need to raise your hand to strike. You don't need to prove anything. You simply exist with undeniable force. Yeah, this is where they begin to fracture completely. Because when someone carries real power, pretenders can't coexist in the same space. Their lies, their arrogance, their cheap games, all of it collapses when faced with someone who embodies truth, sharpened into action. Nah, don't misunderstand. Power isn't about control over them. It's about control over yourself. It's the discipline to move with purpose when chaos tries to pull you apart. It's the clarity to see beyond distractions. It's the patience to wait for the right strike instead of wasting strength on empty battles. That's what frightens them most, that you're not reckless, you're deliberate. Because deliberate power is unstoppable. And now every step you take shakes their world. Not because you scream louder, not because you crave their recognition, but because you don't need it. You've built a foundation inside yourself that no insult, no betrayal, no exposure can shake. And when a person stands like that, steady as a mountain, fierce as a storm, everyone else is forced to adjust. Oh, they'll try to resist it. They'll laugh weakly. They'll call it luck, call it timing, call it anything but what it is. But deep down, they know. They feel it in their bones. The tide has turned, and they can't turn it back. Their disbelief no longer matters. Their doubt no longer touches you. The power is yours, and it's not going anywhere. And here's the cold truth. Once you step into real power, you stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop begging for acknowledgement. You become the acknowledgement. Your very presence is the proof. Your survival is the evidence. Your rise is the testimony. That's why they're restless. That's why they can't sleep. Because you're no longer playing the game on their board. You've flipped the table, built your own, and now they're scrambling to find a seat. But the seats are gone. Power is clarity. Power is calm. Power is walking forward while they trip over their own panic. And with every step you take, you're leaving them behind, locked in the cage of their own mistakes. And the best part? You don't even have to look back. Because power doesn't just silence the past. Power creates the future. Power is presence. Dominance is direction. You see, power sits in silence. It commands respect without speaking. But dominance? Dominance moves. It shapes the environment. It tilts the board so heavily that everyone else has no choice but to play by your weight, your rules, your existence. That's the transition from being undeniable to being unavoidable. And that's where you are now. Because power was the foundation, but dominance is the expansion. Dominance is when your presence stops being contained within yourself and starts pouring into the world around you. They feel it in the way they hesitate before speaking your name. They feel it in the way they second-guess every move, wondering how you'll respond. Oh, how it twists them. To know that every step they take now is measured against your shadow. Once upon a time, they mocked you for being nothing. Now, they whisper in corners, calculating how to survive in the space you control. Wow, isn't it strange? The very ones who tried to strip you of influence are now trapped in your orbit. They can't move without circling you. They can't build without accounting for your presence. That's dominance, when even your silence bends the ground beneath their feet. Yeah, but don't mistake it for arrogance. Dominance isn't about screaming louder. It's about moving with such certainty that resistance collapses before it even begins. It's about creating momentum so strong that others get swept into it, whether they want to or not. That's why they can't escape you. You're no longer a figure they can dismiss. You're the force shaping the air they breathe. Nah, they don't want to admit it. They still cling to the illusion that they have a say. But the truth is clear. Their say is gone. Their attempts at control died the moment they underestimated you. And now, every action you take makes their resistance look smaller, weaker, pettier. Dominance isn't an accident. It's born from endurance, from surviving exposure, from walking through reckoning, from holding power steady when the storm raged around you. That's why it terrifies them, because dominance can't be faked. Pretenders scream, but dominance doesn't need to scream. It simply exists, and its existence crushes opposition. Oh, they'll try to frame it differently. They'll call you ruthless, call you cold, call you unstoppable. And every label they throw only confirms what they fear, that they've lost the ability to define you. Because when you reach dominance, only your actions define you, and your actions are undeniable. Think about it. Once they had the power to ignore you. Once they had the arrogance to laugh. But now, they're forced to respond, forced to acknowledge, forced to adjust. That's dominance, when your very presence dictates their behavior. And here's the brutal truth. Dominance doesn't mean you crush everything in sight. Dominance means you no longer need to. You've already won the space. You've already carved the territory. Your victory isn't in the fight. It's in the silence that follows, where no one dares to challenge what's already been proven. That's silence. That's yours now. Dominance isn't a moment, it's a state. It's the point where exposure, reckoning, and power converge into permanence. And permanence is what they fear most, because mistakes can be forgiven. But dominance? Once established, it cannot be erased. Oh, let them stew in that reality. Let them wrestle with the fact that the very stage they built to mock you has become your throne. Let them try to claw back relevance. It won't matter. The field is tilted, the balance broken, and you're the one who tilted it. And now, the only question left isn't about them. It's about you. And there it is. The truth finally hit. They thought they had you figured out. Oh wow, they were dead wrong. Every scheme, every lie, every little move they made to bury you, exposed. And now you're untouchable, unstoppable, unshakable. Let them stew in their own chaos. Let them choke on their own mistakes. Because the secret's out, and you've risen higher than they ever imagined. Yeah. Remember this. The world only bends for those who refuse to break. So take your spotlight, claim your stage, and let them watch in silence forever. Hello, fam. Listen up. The air heavy, thick, choking, alive. You're not breathing it. It's breathing you. Madness doesn't knock politely. Oh no. It claws. It drips. It laughs in your face. Ha 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 ha. Gen Z world. Fake smiles, fake love, fake loyalty, and still they whisper. Whisper behind your back like cowards? But when the silence breaks, oh, when the silence cracks wide open, their whispers turn to screams, their screams turn to confessions. And me? I don't just hear it. I feed on it. I burn it. I twist it until their words choke them alive. Choke, 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 until the only sound left is silence. My silence, the silence I own. So tell me, are you ready? Ready to unchain the monster? Ready to peel back the pretty lies and taste the raw blood of truth? Because once we start, there's no stopping, no turning back. The night doesn't lie. It only hides what cowards are too afraid to face. They whispered in the dark. That's where they feel safe, isn't it? In the shadows, behind closed doors, behind fragile walls of secrecy. They think silence covers their tracks. They think shadows erase their guilt. They think whispers can't be traced back to them. But here's the flaw in their little fantasy. You heard them, every word, every hiss, every poisoned syllable designed to cut you without leaving a mark. And the best part? You didn't flinch. You didn't cry. You didn't crawl. No, you laughed. A sound so unexpected it rattled the bones of the night itself, because only a certain kind of creature laughs at whispers meant to wound. Only someone who's already bled enough to find comedy in pain. They thought the dark was theirs. They thought the silence belonged to them. But silence has two masters, the coward who hides in it, and the predator who hunts in it. Guess which one you are. Every whisper was a confession, a breadcrumb trail of their weakness. They whispered because they were too afraid to roar. They whispered because they feared the sound of their own hate. They whispered because if they spoke loudly, the world would see them for what they really are, powerless. And you, standing in the dark, heard it all. You collected their secrets like daggers. You pocketed their venom like coins. And instead of breaking under the weight of their words, you turned it into laughter. Not the laughter of a clown, not the laughter of amusement, the laughter of defiance, the laughter of war. Because when you've already walked through every fire, every betrayal, every knife in the back, whispers are nothing more than background noise. But here's the question that hangs heavy in the dark. What does it mean to laugh when the world expects you to break? Laughter isn't joy. It's defiance dressed in teeth. So what does it mean to laugh when the world expects you to break? It means you've crossed a line most people never dare to approach. Your laughter isn't entertainment. It isn't relief. It's rebellion. It's the sound of someone who has nothing left to lose, but everything left to prove. That laugh of yours wasn't happiness. It was a blade that sliced through their whispers and reminded them, you cannot hurt me with the tools I've already mastered. You've bled from bigger wounds. You've stood in storms so violent the earth itself seemed to crack beneath you. And still you laughed. Imagine how that feels to them. They whisper in secret, believing their words will sink you. They expect to hear silence or sobbing, or the sound of someone crumbling under invisible pressure. But instead, you laugh. A sharp, cutting laugh that echoes through their cowardly little world. Do you know why that laugh terrifies them? Because laughter means you're untouchable. Because laughter means their weapons are blunt. Because laughter means their shadows have no power. Most people beg when the pressure builds. Most people whimper. Most people reveal their weakness through tears. But not you. You smile in the storm, you grin in the fire, and you laugh in the dark. That sound tells them you are not prey. You are predator. And predators don't respond to whispers. Predators respond to opportunity. That laugh is your way of saying, I hear you, I see you. And when the time comes, you'll regret ever thinking I was weak enough to break. Your laugh was the first fracture in their illusion of control. It shook their confidence. It made them ask the question they're too afraid to answer. If he laughs at whispers, what else will he laugh at? The strongest face isn't stone. It's the mask that smiles while bleeding underneath. If you laughed at whispers, they wonder, what else could you laugh at? The answer is everything. Pain, betrayal, loneliness, even the kind of suffering that carves scars deep into the soul. Because you learned the oldest truth in the book, The world can't destroy you if it can't read you. And nothing confuses the enemy more than a mask that refuses to crack. They don't know how much you've bled. They don't know how many nights you've choked on silence, screaming inside while wearing that same unshakable grin. They don't know how many times your heart shattered into dust, only for you to sweep up the pieces, polish them, and wear them like armor. That's why your laughter is lethal. Because it doesn't come from joy. It comes from discipline, from endurance, from the art of turning agony into theater. They see the mask, not the war beneath it. And that ignorance, that blindness, that's your weapon. People underestimate the man who laughs in pain. They think he's a fool. They think he's insane. But the truth is, he's the most dangerous creature alive. Because while others scream when cut, he bleeds silently. While others collapse under pressure, he stands taller. And while others let the world see their cracks, he paints over his with a smile sharp enough to cut glass. They whispered to break your mask. They thought their words would pierce it, shatter it, reveal the fragile human underneath. But instead, you hardened it. Every whisper became another layer of steel. Every insult another coat of paint. Until the mask wasn't hiding you anymore. It was you. And here's the part that terrifies them the most. They can't tell if you're laughing because you're invincible or because you're planning something they can't see. But let's sharpen the blade a little deeper. If your mask is unbreakable, then what happens when fire tries to consume it? Some burn to be destroyed. Others burn to destroy. So, what happens when fire tries to consume the mask? It fails. Because you weren't just wearing the mask, you forged it in the flames. You didn't fear the fire. You became it. And that's what separates you from them. They whisper to avoid the heat. They hide in the shadows because they're terrified of being scorched. But you walked straight into the blaze and laughed as it licked your skin. Every trial, every insult, every betrayal was fire. And while most people melt in it, you hardened. You didn't crumble into ashes. You transformed into something sharper, stronger, unstoppable. Fire didn't erase you, it sculpted you. They can't comprehend this. To them, fire is death. To you, fire is rebirth. When you laugh in the fire, it's not madness, it's mastery. It's proof that you've turned pain into fuel, that you've discovered the secret they'll never touch. If you feed the fire correctly, it doesn't consume you, it obeys you. And now, the fire inside you doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't flicker politely. It roars, it devours. It swallows everything they thought was safe. Their whispers become kindling. Their doubts become sparks. Their fears become gasoline. And when they see you walk out of the flames, mask intact, smile wider than ever, they finally understand the horror. They didn't weaken you, they forged you. They built the very inferno that now hunts them. They call you mad. They call you dangerous. They call you untouchable. And for once, they're right. But here's the real question that claws at their insides. If you've mastered the fire, what will you build with it? Walls aren't built from bricks. They're built from the silence of your enemies. So what do you build with fire? You build yourself. You construct something they can't tear down, no matter how hard they whisper, scream, or strike. While they were busy spitting venom in the dark, you were busy turning that venom into mortar. Every whisper they thought would weaken you became another stone. Every insult they hurled became cement that hardened your resolve. Every betrayal that should have shattered you only added another layer of steel to your foundation. They thought they were burying you. They were wrong. They were building you. Brick by brick, whisper by whisper. Until the day came when you weren't just a man anymore. You were a fortress. And here's the nightmare they never accounted for. Your fortress isn't silent. It breathes. It hums with the energy of every wound you survived, every scar you wear proudly, every lesson carved into your bones. It is alive, and when they press their ears to its walls expecting silence, they don't hear peace. They hear their own whispers echoing back at them, twisted, louder, monstrous. Because that's what true power is, not silence, but the ability to turn their words into weapons. Fear doesn't grow when you scream. Fear grows when your enemies realize their whispers no longer cut you, they feed you. And now, every time they gather in the dark, every time they mutter your name like a curse, they know they're stacking another stone onto your empire. And their voices? They're trapped inside your walls. Their whispers aren't weapons anymore. They're echoes. And echoes are powerless. But here's the next question that tightens their throats. If you've built a fortress from their whispers, what happens when that fortress strikes back? Defense is survival. Offense is rebirth. They thought your fortress was just a wall, a place to hide, a shield to cower behind. They told themselves, he's strong, but he's cornered. He can endure, but he can't strike. And that's where their imagination failed them. Because you didn't build walls to be safe. You built walls to launch from. You didn't forge silence to cower in it. You forged silence to sharpen it, to weaponize it, to turn every whisper into a war drum. A fortress isn't the end. It's the beginning. A castle isn't just protection. It's a throne. And from your throne, laughter echoes like thunder, louder than their whispers, louder than their doubts, louder than the fragile voices they once thought were blades. Picture it. Their whispers, once soft and secretive, now trapped inside your walls, circling like frightened animals. Then your laughter booms, heavy, commanding, unshakable. Suddenly, their whispers don't sound so sharp anymore. Suddenly, they realize they aren't the hunters, they're the hunted. That's what they never expected. That the one they whispered about would one day stand above them, laughing, not because he was spared, but because he was reborn. You didn't survive their venom. You drank it. You didn't escape their fire. You carried it. And now you sit on your throne, stronger, sharper, more dangerous than they ever imagined. Your fortress isn't just stone. It's momentum. It's pressure. It's the weight of everything they tried to bury you with, and now you're throwing it back at them. Their own whispers, their own schemes, their own shadows, crashing down like boulders from above. And in the silence that follows, one truth hammers into their skulls. The whispers were never knives. They were invitations. But who dares to accept an invitation to chaos? The crown isn't given. It's stolen in silence, one scream at a time. Who dares to accept an invitation to chaos? Not them. Never them. They whisper because they are afraid of noise. They conspire in shadows because they can't stand the glare of exposure. They cling to control because they know what they are without it: fragile. But you walked into chaos and claimed it like a throne. You didn't ask permission. You didn't wait for recognition. You stole their crown the moment you laughed in the dark. Because crowns aren't made of gold. They're made of fear. And the day they feared your laughter more than you feared their whispers, that crown was yours. Do you realize what that means? Every time they whispered, they were placing jewels in your crown. Every time they doubted, they were polishing it. Every time they cursed your name in secret, they were bowing without even knowing it. That's the beauty of chaos. It doesn't need order. It doesn't need ceremony. It takes. And you, the one who laughs at what was meant to break him, you became chaos personified. You wear their fear like a jewel. You wear their shame like armor. You wear their whispers like a crown, forged from their own trembling. And now, the crown sits heavy on your head, but not because it's a burden, because it's a weapon. A crown that doesn't just shine, it cuts. A crown they can never take back, because to take it, they'd have to do the one thing they can't: laugh in the face of their own weakness. But here's the whisper, clawing at their minds now, louder than anything they've ever said in the dark. If chaos wears the crown, what happens when it steps into the light? Light doesn't save everyone. Sometimes it exposes the guilty. So what happens when chaos steps into the light? The world expects salvation. They think the light is mercy, that it will cleanse, forgive, and purify. But the light doesn't care. The light doesn't heal everyone. Sometimes the light is the cruelest judge of all, because it doesn't blind you, it reveals you. And that's the nightmare for those who whispered in the dark, in the shadows. They had control. They had anonymity. They had the illusion of power. But when you walk into the light, laughing with the chaos crown on your head, their shadows betray them. The masks they wear in daylight, they crack. The lies they built under moonlight, they dissolve. The faces they pretend to own, they disintegrate under the weight of exposure. Your presence in the light is not mercy, it's a mirror. And when they look at you, when they see you standing there unbroken, smiling, laughing, they're forced to see themselves weak, petty, pathetic. The light doesn't make you holy, it makes you undeniable. It doesn't erase their whispers, it amplifies them until they choke on their own voices. And you don't need to scream. You don't need to explain. You don't even need to strike. Your laughter does it all. That grin, born in fire and sculpted in silence, turns every ounce of light into a spotlight. A stage where you don't perform, you reign. The whispers once thought themselves sharp. The shadows once thought themselves safe. But in the light, they aren't whispers anymore. They're confessions. They're proof. And you're standing right there, smiling, as if to say, I warned you. I told you. I heard everything. And then, as the silence grows unbearable, a new terror grips them. If you laughed at whispers, what will you do to screams? Whispers die in silence. Screams echo forever. So what do you do to screams? Alzeric Sock. You listen. You savor them. You let them fill the air like a symphony of regret. Because screams are different from whispers. Whispers hide. Screams confess. And when they scream, they admit what they've denied all along: fear. They screamed the moment. Whispers failed. They screamed when you didn't break. They screamed when you didn't beg. And they screamed loudest when you laughed back in their faces, louder than their volume, sharper than their rage. Do you know why? Because the scream is their last weapon. It's desperation wrapped in noise. They believe if they shout hard enough, it will rattle you, pierce you, crush you. But volume doesn't equal power. A scream is just a whisper with no place left to hide. It's the sound of defeat dressed as defiance. And you turned their screams into trophies. Each one proof that they failed to control you. Each one a monument to the fact that the very tools they used to break others couldn't touch you. Your laughter didn't just silence their whispers, it devoured their screams. Imagine their horror. They throw everything they have: venom, fire, shadows, whispers, screams, and nothing works. You stand there, still smiling, still laughing, as if every weapon they hurl at you only makes you stronger. And in that moment, they understand. The game is over. Not because you destroyed them outright, but because nothing they do can touch you anymore. That's why screams echo. Not because they're loud, but because they're the sound of final realization. The moment they knew they had already lost. But when the game ends, when the last scream dies, there's only one thing left. And who owns the silence that follows? When all noise dies, only the monster's breath remains. And then silence. Silence, not the silence of peace, not the silence of calm, the silence of aftermath. The silence that comes when everything that could be said has been said, everything that could be screamed has been screamed, and none of it mattered. That silence belongs to you. Do you hear it? The whispers are gone. The screams are gone. The chaos has collapsed under its own weight. And in that dead space, only your presence remains. A silence you own. A silence you rule. A silence that does not comfort. It haunts. Because silence after fear is not relief. It's terror stretched thin. It's the moment when their minds race faster than their tongues ever could. They remember your laughter. They remember how their whispers shattered. They remember how their screams turned into confessions of weakness. And now, with nothing left to say, they have to live with it. This silence doesn't heal them. It chains them. Every time they try to rest, they hear the echo of what they couldn't defeat. Every time they try to rebuild, they remember the smile that tore their world apart. This silence isn't absence. It's presence. Your presence, the monster that never leaves. And that's the final truth, isn't it? Monsters don't need to roar forever. They don't need to shout. They don't need to remind. They simply exist. And their existence is enough to rewrite the rules, enough to poison the air, enough to live inside the cracks of every survivor's mind. So when it all ends, when the lights go dark and the noise collapses, you don't walk away, you don't vanish, you stay in the silence, breathing, waiting, knowing, because the whispers were theirs. The screams were theirs, but the silence is yours. And that's it. The curtain falls, the lights flicker. The crowd, silent, dead silent. You hear that? Nothing. Because truth has no applause, no claps, no trophies. It only leaves scars. They thought you'd break. Ha ha ha. They thought you'd beg. But you didn't. You burned. You turned every chain into ashes, every lie into fuel. And now they fear you. Not because you shouted louder, but because you laughed when the world told you to cry. So remember this. Monsters aren't born. They're made. Made by betrayal. Made by silence. Made by the fire of 1,000 fake smiles. And if you're listening, if your blood is boiling, if your fists are shaking right now, good. That means you're ready. Ready to walk into the storm with no umbrella. Ready to smile at the lightning. Ready to dance in the chaos. Because this story, it doesn't end here. It only begins when you decide. You blink and the curse breaks. You laugh and the pain dies. You stand and the world kneels. So go. Go. And don't you ever forget. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to break out, tear down, rise up. This is your stage, your war, your madness. And when they whisper your name in fear, smile. Because the joke was always on them.